And that is absolutely fair to say. It is our second PVZ of the day. The first one was all right, but we were hoping for a bit more. Let's hope that this one can give us all the NA craziness we could possibly wish for. In the bottom left side of Data C, we are looking at the main base of our American Protoss player representing License to Kill. This is Nina.
And her opponent, spawning on the right side here of Data C, representing Psystorm Gaming, is Namshar. And we have had some funky PVZs for the NA matches, haven't we, Roddy? That group stage was a trip, to say the least.
Yeah, Namshar Pili on this map, when you called out the Tempest, picking up the reinforcements in the center of the map with the destabilizer upgrade as well. It was a bit of everything, and it was definitely a memorable game. Namshar was very open in the interview afterwards. I think Zombie kind of briefly touched up on that as well. As I'm having some lag spikes, by the way. I hope it's not just on my side. I hope I'm not the reason the game...
I'm not seeing any slowdown in the game, so I think everything is okay. At least it's fine over here. But we are on US West for this map, so I guess that does make a little bit of sense. A bit far away now.
My ping is kind of stable, so I'm not exactly sure what's causing this, but yeah, to wrap up that thought, Namshar was pretty honest about it, saying like, I'm just very busy in real life. I'm doing my best. I want to get ready for these matches, but I am simply not playing as much as I used to. Yeah, he just felt a bit rusty overall, but still has a lot of fun competing and is obviously still one of the very best in this region. Making it into the playoffs is something to be very proud of, and he's going to try to go even a bit further. But to do that, he has to take out Nina in a best of 5, and that is going to be very hard.
Definitely. Very, very difficult. I mean, Nina, she likes all of the units that you can micro. So Stargate on the table. Fast Robo, also there. DT Rush, yeah, we've seen it. So it is a Stargate this game, but Nina is a player that really likes to get fancy with the control and with the footwork out there. So for Namshar, sometimes I feel like maybe her weakness can be that she tries to get a little bit too fancy. There's some opportunities to attack in the early game, but that's also a very difficult thing because now when you have the experience of playing and especially being one of the better NA players and a top 4 many times as well, like Nina has in the past, then you have a lot of experience. You've kind of seen it all. So it really boils down to the preparation on the day and the execution for this particular match as the Adept kind of checks the front, kind of throw the shade up the ramp, but there's nothing really crazy or ridiculous to see. I think some of our commentary about Namshar for the last week has been a little bit of having the queens in the right spots to deal with those oracles coming in. That has been a problem a few times. So we'll try to make sure that he's not leaving himself too open for the Oracle harass.
Yep, and basically we have Neep giving the blueprint on how to play early game PvZ almost every single time he goes up against a Zerg in this region. But it looks easy, it's so damn difficult to copy. And I think that's something that Nina will probably feel or will agree with as well. But so far, it is all very standard, Nate. We have a couple of adepts, an Oracle out, second Oracle's on the way. And now it's just up to Namshar to not take too many damage here, or not take too many losses. You don't want to end up falling behind in the worker department way before you're supposed to. Pretty quick Twilight follow-up. I don't know if that means something special, or if it's just going to be Oracles into Blink. So far, I'd say so good. One drone does get picked off, but I think Namshar got a bit unlucky with the moment that drone hatched.
Yeah, it's a bit tough there, as 10 more are being morphed in to replace it. And Nina continuing to build the oracles, right? So the second one is going to pop out now, and we'll see if we get to the legendary third oracle as a stalker gets warped in to deal with the overlord that has flown into her base, and that oracle comes back. So we got 3 drone kills now. 4 total on that bad boy.
Yeah, it definitely starts adding up. So far, it is still all kind of acceptable. Ideally, for Namshar, he does get something going his way soon, whether it's an Oracle kill or just pick up a couple of probes that are being transferred. Because obviously all of these are little victories so far for Nina, who gets a few more. All right, now it's really starting to add up. That is 5 extra workers going down. Take a look at the amount of drones that have gone down so far. It's 9 and an Overlord has fallen. Meanwhile, Namshar has not killed a single unit yet. On top of that, Namshar just hasn't really been able to even try to get something going, right? It's all very defensive, and that is the Namshar that we know and love, and that is obviously what he feels comfortable with. But he's not doing it this time around from a economic lead. There isn't such a thing as a very quick fourth hatchery, so I do hope for Namshar that he gets a few points on the board soon. Otherwise, the very first time that Nina decides to attack with her Blink Stalkers, it could very well be the end of Namshar already.
Yeah, a situation that just kind of goes from bad to worse. And there's the revelation comes through onto the natural again. So Nina just trying to keep tabs on everything that Namshar could be doing. And the way that she set up her third, by the way, she's already thinking about just completely blocking off the harass, the counterattacks. She's completely walled off one of those ramps in her natural, in her third. So as she continues to move out, there'll be less angles to try and counterattack. And I'm just going to assume Blink +1, lots of gateway units. Now that this is becoming a meta thing in this matchup again, this is something Nina's always been good at. Something that we used to see her do, you know, years and years ago. We're doing WCS America. It's Blink Stalkers for days. So this is very much in line with the way that Nina likes to play the game, and should expect there to be some heavy gateway pressure in the near foreseeable future.
Yep. The queen count isn't crazy high for Namshar. We're only looking at 6 queens, so Namshar's going to have to be very, very cautious with his queens, because losing 2 or 3 is just deadly when you're working with such a low amount of queens. A few lings, we're going to try to get lucky in the bottom side of the map, but that gets denied immediately by Nina, who does have a pretty quick Templar Archives as a follow-up too. As this time around, the Oracles are going to drop stasis traps in multiple bases, but at the same time, Nina is still active with her army.
Yeah. And she's going to move out, grabs Creep Tumor, steps away, but that Stalker count continues to grow. And I mean, if we look at what Namshar is doing, he is getting ready for what would either be the ultimate attack coming his way or the ultimate attack that he wants to deliver, because he's got +1. We have roach speed, and we have a lot of roaches. And Nina taking her 4th base. There is a pretty direct funnel to this position. As we said, the 3rd base has a lot of things blocking it from being able to be run through, or run around rather. So let's see what happens, because you know these Stalkers can blink, and we know that Nina can blink them very well, and that is exactly what she is going to do, is start to trade against these roaches. There are a large number of them, however. We do have a shield battery behind this, but more and more Stalkers are going to get worked in to supplement this, and the Oracles even come back to all 3 of them with a lot of pain that they can deal onto these roaches if they need to.
Nina ends up only losing 2 Stalkers there, and that just was not good enough for Namshar, who now finds himself at a 17 worker deficit. Nina even blinks across the rocks. That felt a little bit unnecessary to me, but I guess with the extra units coming in, the Oracles helping out, it's something that Nina will be able to get away with. It wasn't needed, and perhaps we lost a few more Stalkers there than we were supposed to, but overall Nina still has, I think, a very strong lead in this game, especially with +2 finishing up way before the +2 of Namshar. Storm kicking in. Nina does like to take her time and actually goes up to 5 bases, go double robo from here on out. And I guess that is smart, because roaches are fine to take care of. Ravagers could become a bit more problematic for Stalkers only. So why not get a couple of Disruptors, a unit that Nina is also very good with, or even Colossus, just to get that consistent damage out there.
Yeah, I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense. Already has Storm, already has several High Templar with the army. So Nina setting herself up for whatever it is that she'll need. And we've seen even in some of her PVZs in this tournament, had a crazy game against Scarlet on Cosmic Sapphire, where 16 High Templar was the backbone of the army, which became surprisingly impossible to kill for even one of the best Zergs in NA. So Namshar going to be going up against that relatively soon. A lot of Ravagers, though, and splitting up as this army moves out. So Namshar's trying to get a bit of a sandwich action going on, and Storm can help close off those choke points. I think that's what makes it so tough. The Lings are trying to get the dive onto the High Templar, and they're going to get at least one of them, but another Storm will get popped. And okay, we can see Namshar here definitely stressing out this army, making it not so easy to just run around the map as Nina was trying to.
Yeah, it's because Nina, her army was kind of all over the place. Archons were trailing behind and just wasn't totally ready for it. But I think in the end, this was still all right for Nina. That was definitely a loss, but it's a loss that Nina can afford, because Nina is very rich on 91 drones, 5 bases, and Namshar is still working with a very basic army comp. There is a Hive on the way, though, and there is a Great Aspire on the way as well. So if Namshar is now able to find another good fight and just make sure that this game goes on for a little while longer, we could potentially see a few Brood Lords, and that would obviously be quite big against the army that Nina currently has. But I really don't think it's going to be that easy, Nate, because this Protoss army is still big, still powerful, and if Nina just has a much better engagement, I think it's going to be a lot harder for Namshar to get another fight as good as the previous.
Yeah, especially since the Archons are with the army this time around, so there's a little bit of a better buffer for those Lings. A big Baneling run by into that third is trying to unseat everything. All those probes. Those probes did get boxed in pretty hardcore, Roddy. I think actually might be able to get the Nexus if he wanted it.
Oh,
anyway.
Final one.
there it is.
The absolute final baning. I have to say that was an insane amount of banings. Maybe a few more than you would ideally.
Like all the gas.
Yeah. I mean, all the probes fell, sure, and the Nexus went down, but Nina does have an economy that can go on for days. Maybe it is going to be a bit more passive, though. After that, I was like, whoa, you're rich. You know, Namshar really isn't all that rich, but definitely played it like he was ultra rich. Now there is Adrenal Glands on the way, great Aspire. So maybe this game is going to get a bit more exciting, a bit closer than it looked like a few minutes ago. I kind of felt that Nina was starting to walk away with it. This might not be that easy, even though on this map, Brood Lords, never bad, don't get me wrong. But it's such a big map that it's really hard to get the Brood Lords exactly where you want to have them.
Yeah, I think losing those High Templar on that fight on the right side kind of took away what she felt she had for the move out opportunity. There is a prism inside the main base though, and this is actually really big. If there were no units here, I think Nina just right clicks onto the Greater Spire, but it will be able to finish, or at least it looks like it should. But that northwest base, there's absolutely nothing here. Ravager shot, or excuse me, Disruptor shot goes out, gets a Ravager, another storm to push this army away even once more. And well, Nina still has those disruptors, so as that cooldown comes back, we'll be able to see them get into it once more. But this is on creep, so a lot of units could dive onto this. The Immortals are at the front, the disruptors die immediately. There's just not really that much in terms of the Roach Ravager count. We know that these units are kind of cheap, they're a little bit supply inflatey, but they even then not able to max out on this. Definitely makes it a tricky position to be in. Stalkers blink towards the top side. More Lings are going to spill out. There is still that one Archon in the army to help with the Zerglings. Corruptors try to dive onto the Oracle. They are not going to be able to get it. And Nina just continues this assault forward. There's just not enough here, Roddy. Not enough army here to stop this many Stalkers.
Nope, and the beautiful thing for Nina is that this is not even an all-in, right? There's +1 air weapons going up at home, couple of extra Stargates, a fleet beacon, but none of that will come into play as this army of all the Stalkers and the Immortal and the Archons with +3 was just too powerful. I don't know. It was obviously not a pretty game for Namshar at first. Namshar was just taking a few too many losses early on, and it could have ended earlier. But then Namshar did get a decent fight on the right side of the map. I just think we got a bit too carried away with all the Banelings. I feel like that was a few too many Banelings to throw at probes and a Nexus, which is great if it's like a 3-base Protoss that's very committed, but it wasn't. It was a 5-base setup for Nina. I think those Banelings would have came in more handy in a fight.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really cool move to go for. That you're like, oh, I'm going to throw all these Banelings and boom, the base blows up. All the probes are dead. Except, you know, the Protoss actually has 2 more bases than that. You know, Protoss is basically on close to 5 bases, and they've got a ton of money that they're working with. They're ahead on upgrades. They're ahead on the infrastructure. So you wish you had all of that back for the defense on that big push, because killing the workers just just was never going to be enough there. It had to turn into like a full, complete domination, which is very difficult to do when you start off losing, what was it, 10 drones total, I think, to the Oracles. So really slowed down that early game for Namshar and made things about as difficult as they could have been.
It seems that the PGM had some issues as well, so it wasn't just me. There could be a bit of a server problem, maybe, with European computers connecting to the US West server, but I don't remember it ever being this bad. I have played plenty of games in US West. Earlier today, Rainer was even playing a couple of custom games with a certain Korean Terran player. Won't drop any names on the US West as well, and that was all fine. Not sure what's causing the lag here, not just for me, but obviously for PGM as well. And then it could go out to the stream, so that would obviously really suck. Hopefully for you guys, it's not as bad as it was for me, but at least the players are not really feeling anything of it. Namshar said he's okay, doesn't really feel anything, and Nina didn't even really address it. So fingers crossed that it's just on our end, but hopefully it doesn't go out to the stream.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of strain on global internet infrastructure and communications lines. So I think that, sometimes can just get a little bit of jitter and packet loss on that. But at least in game, yeah, they're not seeing it. I'm not seeing any of the lag at all. So I think the game itself is going just fine. So I think we're okay there. But hopefully that smooths out for y'all.
If the players are happy and you're happy, Nate, I'm happy.
And we know my happiness is the most important thing here, Roddy, right?
Absolutely.
Above anything and everything else. So
of course, because it's not even Sunday yet. And we all know that on Sunday you're going to be less happy again when the Jets get absolutely slaughtered. So we want you to be happy today.
Hey, let me write this. I got to take this receipt real quick. You can introduce the players, Kev.
Alrighty, in the top left side of Cosmic Sapphire, we're looking at the main base of the American Protoss player. Look damn good and in control in game one. Can still continue on that footnote. This is Nina.
And her opponent in the bottom right, the blue Zerg player representing Psystorm Gaming. He is Namshar.
It also felt, if we want to get very analytical about that previous game, that in a game where Namshar didn't have the prettiest start, obviously a few more drones went down than they were supposed to go down, didn't find any damage early on. You probably don't want to throw away 20 plus banelings and go into Hive and Great Aspire at the same time and then fire up a bunch of expensive upgrades like Adrenal Glands. I feel like it's either all-out Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager aggression, or you keep those Banelings for the main engagement and then try to tack up. But I feel like doing both at the same time in a game that you're not winning, yeah, it means that we're getting a bit too carried away and just couldn't quite afford that stuff.
Yeah, that's very, very difficult to do the resource balancing when you're behind, because it feels like you need to make a big flashy play to come back, but the cost of doing that is always going to come from somewhere if you've got less money than your opponent. So it just gets progressively more difficult as the hole gets dug. So for Nina, I would kind of expect, especially on this map, probably see a little Stargate action again, right? Seems pretty reasonable. She might do something else just because. So Nina is a relatively unpredictable player, but I think she's stuck a little bit more to the meta build this season, and that might just be, Kev, because we know that she likes playing Stalkers, and this leans very well into that. So maybe she doesn't feel the same pressure to do the unorthodox strategies.
But what is cool to see Nina do her thing is that she's not playing it in a very committed way. We often see Protoss players open up Oracles and still build a lot of Pros, but then they do start going crazy with War Prism, Zealots, Gateways on the other side of the map, and it all starts to feel very committed. Nina was never committed in that previous game. Had all the tech in the world. Storm, double Robo, Stargates going up. But it is not going to be Stargate from the very get-go this time around. We are opening things up with the Twilight Council. Could be Glaives, will most likely be Glaives. Will it be Glaives and a Dark Shrine or just a quick Dark Shrine? We're about to find out. I think it's Glaives and a Dark Shrine.
Ooh, I'd like that. I'll take that. See a little cheeky action. There's the Robo facility, so it could actually line up. Don't know that the gas is there to immediately start a Dark Shrine, but I do like it. I'm a big fan of that idea. Could also be a signature Nina Disruptor Drop Rush or something crazy. Oh, there it is. Oh, Kevin looking into the void here and seeing the truth.
Well, I'm just kind of sad that we don't have Glaives yet. It's only a Dark Shrine, so I don't even consider my guess correct. As we do have an Adept getting picked up in the main base. Yeah, I don't
this man's too... You won't even take the W.
No. That was not a W. I thought it would kind of be a couple of Adepts into a Dark Shrine, but yeah, straight up DTs could be cool. There are many different ways to play this out. We can, of course, just settle for an Archon drop, but it could also be something else where, I've seen some great plays, and I will always think back of Maples, the Canadian Protoss player, the Ape, as they like to call him on the NA server. He had such a great juke against Solar, where he warped in a bunch of DTs in Solar space. Then he showed the Prism on creep, flew into the main base. Solar sends everything into the main, and then 4 DTs just right-click the Spore Crawl at the third base. I thought it was one of the greatest plays I've seen in a while. Solar really fell for it. I wonder if Nina's going to do something crazy with DTs or if it's just going to play standard stuff.
Yeah, I definitely am with you there. I think at some point we had Nina go Dark Templar for an Archon drop as well. I'd like to see the DTs used as is at first, though. I think if you have that opportunity, you always want to try with the Invisible Man because, well, they're invisible, so detection isn't ready. Can inflict a lot of pain, and these DTs are making their way towards the third. There's no Spore Crawler there, Roddy.
No, it's going, and Namshar's probably going to try to buy a little bit of time with his links. Can he surround his Spore Crawler? Namshar is trying, and Namshar will keep his Spore Crawler safe. Well done there. Good link movement by the Swedish-Canadian Zerg, as we do have links counterattacking. Nina definitely does not want to lose this pylon or the Nexus. It seems like the battery did get cancelled. The pylon gets picked off. Not bad for Namshar, who is staying, by the way, on hatchery tech. Like +1 melee is close to finishing up. +1 melee is good, but I don't really know what's happening here. It's getting a bit crazy, and I'm still lagging, so I'm having a hard time following this game. Does Nina have enough units to keep this Nexus safe against this many links with soon +1? I kind of think the answer is yes, because 2 Dark Templars are just very, very powerful.
Yeah, well, you said it, Kev. Hatchery tech. So the lair just started, but there's no detection to do anything about the DTs over there. So kind of a nice upside for Nina, as oftentimes when you try to just use 2 or 3 adepts or 2 zealots to hold off a base like this when there's a lot of links, that +1 melee can turn things really quickly. And then the next thing you know, you're just getting absolutely wrecked. So having the Archon, which can do great pressure against the Ling build on the map, that's just generally nice. And then the Observer doing a little bit of creep spread too, or creep clearing rather. So I feel like all of this kind of synergizes pretty nicely for Nina. And the +1 melee, the advantage of it would have been to try and get that cancel. But I guess eventually it can just be faster +2 for the Banelings and the run-bys. And we know that Nina will likely play with a lot of Stalkers again this game. So just having better Lings in general is never really that bad.
Nope, but we do need to start taking care of Archons, because Namshar has double Roachhorn, by the way. What's that all about? There's a Roachhorn. I mean, sometimes that's on purpose, right? Tunneling Claws, Burrow, crazy place, but I don't know. Namshar is economically already pretty far behind. There are no signs of a 4th base. I really wonder if the double Roachhorn is on purpose or not. Archons are getting a couple of hits off. It does feel that Nina is once more getting herself in a very good spot. Few more hits connecting with these queens. There is a Robobay. Nina really likes to take her time. Nowhere near as extreme with the commitment to aggression as a lot of the European Zergs we see very often in this matchup. But it does all look very controlled. And it just kind of feels like we're playing Nina's best of 5 so far.
Yeah, I think for her, it's a lot about making sure that she goes through the motions of what she wants to do and execute on all fronts, even if she doesn't need to. She's not going to overextend. She's not going to force it. We saw with the gateway wall on the 3rd last game, she was very ready for a big attack, even though the Banelings did eventually get in there anyway. So that when a little Ling run by comes in and stops the base like this, it doesn't end up having that much of an impact because she hasn't, thrown away too much to really put herself at risk. And there's the pickup on the Archons as she was poking that 4th hatchery. But I think you're fine, right? The 4th is only halfway done. So getting that Nexus up at any time, if she can prevent it from being canceled again, she should be happy.
There is no Overseer on the map. There is an Overseer morphing, but 2 Dark Templars will be able to get a couple of hits off. And actually, Nina just goes for the Rico immediately. Worried about an Overseer showing up. Worried about maybe a Spore Crawler being there where she couldn't see it. But I actually think those DTs would have probably been able to get the cancel. And if they did, then this game really would be close to ending, because the 3-base Zerg is not going to have a good time against the 4-base Protoss. Now it will go on. Namshar is morphing 14 extra drones. And we're going to get a couple of Ravagers. Might still be a game, but that's mostly because Nina is not really spending her money on the Dream Army at the moment, but basically covering all the potential paths. We are going to see a Nova connect with a couple of Banelings on the left side of the map. Nina just kind of feels bulletproof so far, Nate.
Yeah, looking very good, looking very clean, not getting caught off guard. The Observer can see all these Banelings that are morphing outside of her base, so that should not really be a surprise for her either, as the Prism makes its way into the main base with those Archons. And we know that if you look away for even just a second, I mean, they deal tons of damage. They do bonus damage to that building spine too, so you got to be careful morphing that right in their face. And you even love this, like, yeah, hey, your Overseer's over here? Yeah, I'll take that off. That's a great grab to have.
A few Colossus on the way. Nina probably does want to fire up Extended Thermal Lens. That is the one upgrade that she's missing at the moment. +1 is done. +1 shields is done. Kind of an interesting way to go about your upgrades, right? +1 attack into shields, but It kind of feels that the world is just her oyster at the moment, and she can do whatever the hell she wants. Namshar can't really do anything offensively because he made so many links early on. Wasn't able to get himself ahead with it, and has just kind of been broke and has been kind of poor ever since. We are going to get a little bit of a skirmish in the center. Nina's army just looks really, really good to me.
3 Immortals, 2 Disruptors, 4 Archons, lots of Stalkers, and like you mentioned, she's got +1 attack, but also +1 shields. So the Ling upgrades have a slightly lower impact, especially against those Archons, which will be tasked with cleaning up the majority of them. And behind this, the double Colossus production, extended thermal lance coming through, DT blink, +2 on the shields. Nina really is going to try to check off every single imaginable box in this game, including the Zealot Warpin in the main base, right as charge finishes.
Yep. A couple of adapts are staying out of range of the spine crawlers in the bottom side of the map, so they got a few drones. Disruptors could land some big shots here if they would have fired. Unfortunately, that shot is a little bit late. Shadow Stride finishing up. Yeah, it feels that Nina is trying to complete some side missions here. Get all the upgrades, get all the buildings, take as many bases as possible. There we go, Stargate and +1 air weapons as well. Is it all necessary? No, but I guess better safe than sorry in the playoffs of the DreamHack Masters NA, as we are once more heading into the aim high. Thank you by US Air Force, Nate.
Yeah, a lot of things to keep track of here as these Banelings try to make their way through to the rest of the army, but Nina getting some great splits off of the creep. The Archon finally goes down, but she just got too many forces. We get the side view of that Prism. Another Warpin in the main base to continue to apply that pressure to Namshar as his defenses crumble. Nina absolutely getting all over his production and his expansions.
Yeah, Namshar was actually doing really good in the main base. He left a lot of units behind, but the main fight on the right side just didn't go all that great. I gotta say, Namshar has done quite decent. I just don't think it's gonna be good enough. These Ravagers are sitting ducks for all these Stalkers, more Stalkers being warped in, and the Colossus can just walk into the main base. So Nina's gonna pick up the Immortals, and now the entire army is gonna make it into the main base of Namshar. This is really cool army movement. Nina, who does need to move her Colossus away, and she does. It feels that Nina is styling a little bit, Nate. That's the vibe that I'm getting here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she can do whatever she wants at this point, and that's exactly what's happening. GG's called. Nina goes up 2-0.
Looking very dominant, in control, honestly, from the very beginning till the very end. Namshar had a big commitment early on with all the links, with the +1 melee. That could have been good against certain openings, but didn't do very hard against the quick Dark Shrine. And it wasn't even that the DTs did offensively a lot of damage, but Namshar did the damage himself by making all these links, making +1 melee, and then not getting the cancel because of the defensive Dark Templars. It just put Namshar in a very rough spot for this entire game.
Yeah, and it's one of those tough spots because it feels like the one thing that could open things up is if you get like a big surround. You somehow manage to catch the Stalkers, they blink, but it's not into the right spot or they can't get away. You get the surround, you swallow the army and kill it, and then you can kind of do stuff. But Namshar, instead, he's taking a lot of damage. He's being poked endlessly, and his little moves are, well, I'm going to try and send some Banelings to run by to the natural or run by to the third base. But Nina, part of that, she's just kind of going through every step, even if it's not necessary for that specific game. She still has those observers out there. She still sees it coming. She's thinking throughout the entire process, okay, what would Scarlet probably be doing to me right now? She's not just thinking that, okay, if I just keep pushing, I can probably kill this guy. No, she doesn't want to leave anything open, doesn't want to leave anything up to chance. So just kind of working out really well for her. And like you said, she's just meticulously going through her whole entire build, even beyond where she needs to, and it's working out.
Apparently, Namshar is in Calgary at the moment, and that's why we are playing on the US West. Wasn't aware of it. Did you know, Nate, they have a very fast ice skating ring in Calgary? Do you know that?
I did not know that.
A lot of world records are being broken there every single year because of altitude, fast ice. They go fast there in Calgary. Maybe Namshar, part-time ice skater at this point. Who knows?
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's only an 11-hour drive, Roddy. Let's go hit it up.
For you? Yeah.
Yeah. Ay.
11-hour flight for me. I think I'll pass.
Meet you there, Kappa.
In the bottom left side of Tropical Sacrifice, we're looking at the main base of our American Brothers player, looking incredibly good so far in this best of 5, and eager to move into the next round of the lower bracket in the playoffs. This is License to Kills Nina.
And her opponent in the Northeast, the blue Zerg player representing Psystorm Gaming, he is Namshar.
The Dutch are very big on their speed skating, and I think I was forced to watch it a lot when I was a child. So I always kept track of all the different competitions around the world, and I know they've got a very fast track in Calgary.
I don't really know anything at all about speed skating.
No one does, Nate. Only the Dutch. That's why we win all the gold medals in the Olympics. We are like the only country in the world that really cares.
That's fair. That's fair.
Hey man, makes us look good though. Like we're always up there with America and whatnot. It's like, wow,
it kind of looks cool. Like I can visualize it, right? Like they go really fast, like turning the whole entire time, right? They go around in a ring, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big one and there is short track, but anyway, I digress. I do want to say that it's fake news that the Dutch people speed skate to work. I know that was a news article that went viral a couple years ago.
They ride the bikes to work.
Yeah, we do ride bikes, but we do not go across little lakes and speed skate to work. That was absolutely fake news. Anyway, moving on. PVZ, Tropical Sacrifice. Nina has shown us 2 different openings so far. What will she bring here in Game 3? And what will Namshar do? I kind of hope that Namshar does something even a little more extreme than we saw in the second game, because I have the feeling that Nina is just the better player at the moment in the normal, slow, straight-up macro games. Nina just seems to be a bit more complete at the moment, so I hope that Namshar does something wild, Nate. Nidus, German Taxi, I don't know, any of the crazy builds.
Yeah. Cheeky Nidus, I think, would be pretty fun to see out of Namshar. I feel like part of the way that Nina's been playing is she is, it's very deliberate, right? She's not trying to cut corners. She's not trying to play her opponent. She's trying to just play this matchup and not lose on any of the things that she's been doing really well against some of the other Zerg players like Scarlet, and making sure that she can maintain that flow moving forward. Of course, we know that the next matchup for the winner of this is going to be Trigger, so not quite that PVZ follow-up, but for Nina, I think she's really just trying to make sure that she's still able to do everything that she needs to, and that's why we've seen like this little bit slower, even if she's doing damage, play style come out. Just in case Namshar does pull something off, just in case he does do something a little bit cheeky, she just refuses to get caught.
Yep. And Adapt into Oracle is obviously very safe as long as you scout with the Adapt, and that is something that Nina will always do. We have a second Adapt already out, but that Adapt is just kind of chilling at home. Nina sends a shade forward, wants to see if Namshar is doing something wild, sees a bunch of drones being transferred. You know, Nate, I might be paranoid after playing StarCraft for all these years, but if I ever have a scout like this and I see like 3 or 4 drones being transferred, I'm like, I'm not buying it. It's a fake, they're sending extra drones from the main base. They're hiding the all-in, but I think that's just a man who has been all-in a few too many times over the last few years. It seems that Nina is like, nah, everything is standard. And it is, because Namshar is not doing anything crazy yet.
Yeah, and every single drone on that natural, by the way, running from the one Adept out too, trying to make sure he doesn't give up anything there. Gets a little bit awkward. Oracle comes into that natural. Now the Queens, they are still there, so Oracle will just get 2 drones and dip. Nothing at that third base just yet. Of course, Oracle is just chilling on top of it.
Yeah. You never want to attack an act, but killing larva is actually sometimes pretty decent. It dies very quickly against oracles.
Yeah, that's your production. Can't make stuff without larva. It feels weird. It feels weird to spend the energy on it because you of course want to get drones, but sometimes you just, 5 drones are being made right now, but it could have been 6, right? I don't know. Maybe.
Could have been 0. You kill all the larva.
The larva denial strategy. That's the real meta we haven't gotten to yet. We made the jokes about kill all the overlords, and then that started to happen every now and again. And what's the last thing we've memed about that hasn't become meta in StarCraft? I think it's the kill the larva strategy.
I'm thinking, Nate, Void Ray first, kill a couple overlords, follow it up with Speed Prism, disrupt the drop, and just fire Novas, not at the drones, but only at the larva. And then they can rebuild the overlord.
Yeah, easy peasy.
I think we're
Perma supply block. The dream, Roddy.
Stuck
Plus
at
one
28.
attack and blink.
Yeah. Obviously, Nina once more just kind of doing her thing. Everything's looking good. This is the standard that we have seen, and this is the standard that has put her in a 2-0 lead so far, even if Cosmic was a bit different. But that first game, Nina could have played it a lot more aggressive, could have played it a lot more committed. She didn't. Namshar has done a good job in droning up this game. Actually, he maintains a 5-worker lead. We have a force base on the way. Will the Oracles activate Pulsar Beam to get a cancel? Yep, Nina is going to go for it. One queen is going to try to buy some time for the other queens to show up. Oracles are good, though. And I have the feeling that these Oracles will get the cancel. Nice micro by Nina. Wow, absolutely perfect, Nate. Legit, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that is the standard that has been set. That's what we've seen. No early Oracle losses for Nina so far. And even if it dies now, it's like, okay, well, at least she got done what she was trying to do. And for Namshar, still the +1, still the roach speed, all of those things we talked about. But there's a Spire being made, Roddy. So gonna mix things up a little bit. However, trying to hide it may not work out that well because A, we know Nina's gonna make a lot of stalkers. And B, we've also seen, even though it hasn't been used at all, her add extra Stargates and get +1 after everything is set. So we know that she's going to do that no matter what Namshar does. So I would not be surprised if she gets an eye on this or starts to sense something funky is happening and she just gets there a little bit faster this game, maybe.
Yeah, because if Nina just keeps flying around right now with the Oracles, which is what she's doing, as the Stalkers are here as well, you may pick up on the fact, like, wait a minute, I don't see anything that's costing gas. There is not a single Roach on the field. I don't see any Banelings yet. So this may actually be a pretty strong indication for Nina that she's indeed going up against Midas. That Spire is close to finishing up, but still the only thing that Nina has seen so far, Nate, are Lings and Queens. It's not like the craziest thing ever when you're playing Oracle and Stalkers, because a lot of Zergs do prefer having that +1. I don't think Nina totally knows yet. We do have a cannon going up, but these 13 Midas could actually hit pretty hard if they come as a complete surprise.
Yep, and there's absolutely nothing really to see them anymore, like you were saying, because the Oracles, they're staying with the Stalkers to provide this damage. But again, why is it just Lings coming after your units? You know, that's what you need to be thinking about. 21 Mutas. Yeah, Kev, if this just swoops into the third base, I mean, there's 2 cannons, no battery.
Oh my goodness.
That's not enough for 21 Mutalisks.
Nope, Nina could actually be in a bit of trouble here, and she really doesn't know, because now we're building a Robo, and we're just going Storm, all of the stuff that's great against ground units, but not so great against air. I'm following Nina's point of view for quite some time, and this is the very first time that she actually sees Mutas. I would love to see maybe a big Stalker warping in the natural in the main base immediately. I think that would be a smart way to defend, but this is still going to get very, very difficult for Nina.
Yeah, Mutas do end up running into the Stalkers now. Nina ready to defend. Still has 84 probes. Phoenix production is underway. So for her, it's just about buying that time, getting everything out that she needs. The Muta count has been trimmed down to 15, but a few more are on the way. These Lings get caught, though. They did deny the south expansion, but it hasn't been too much just yet. Storm is going to hit some of these Mutas, too, trying to just soften them up so the Stalkers can get a couple one-taps on the way out.
Actually, very impressive defense so far, because defending against this many Mutas, when you're not quite anticipating a Spire and that many Mutas being produced, is very difficult. But 9 have already fallen, as the Observer just showed us. Nina actually handled that incredibly well, Nate. I would have lost 44 probes, and then probably Stalker after Stalker, as the Muta count just keeps on growing. Of course, Nina had a good start in this game, which maybe made it a bit more doable for her, but very impressive. Actually, legit, not as easy as it looks.
No, not at all. We've seen games get thrown with pushes like this many times over the years, Roddy, casting StarCraft 2. And Stalkers are going to come over. They are ready to meet them. 8 probes died. 75 versus 90. Now it starts to bleed out a little bit more. We do have the Phoenix being made. +1 is being researched as well. It just takes a little bit of time to get those 3 Stargates working together as we aim high, taking a look at these fights happening in multiple places as the Mutas continue to bring that pressure between the main and the natural, while Nina has her army at the third set and ready to defend against those Lings that were caught by the stasis. That's going to expire and they will be picked off. The rest of the units are waiting by that 4th, and again, Nina does lose a decent amount of probes, but she has so many nexuses. She has so much capacity to rebuild them that it doesn't feel too rough because, again, the Phoenix count is rising. +1 is coming up, and we know that the Phoenix is a mighty, mighty adversary for the Muta.
Yeah, Namshar is now transitioning into Hydras, but it's obviously going to take a little while before the Hydras have all their upgrades. Hydra Link Bane is very good if there is no Storm, but there will be Storm, plenty of Storm even. There are plenty of cannons as well. So I guess I'm very happy to see the Hive tech on the way right now. Maybe Namshar will drop a Lurker then, because I believe a little more in Lurkers here than I believe in Hydras.
Yeah. It's like trying to catch her off guard, transitioning into a big air force, I guess, is what is like the idea here. Okay, crank out a crazy amount of Phoenix, then boom, you're back into Hydras and you have a rough time fighting. The problem here, like you kind of pointed out, I mean, there's still a bunch of Stalkers with great upgrades, but there are also a bunch of High Templar with full energy and Storm. So Hydralisk's not really known for how good they are against that. And as we were already pointing out in this game, Nina has gone for Stargates with upgrades at the end of every single map. Even though we didn't see them come into play in game 1 or 2, she did add them. She got the upgrades. So this was always going to be a part of her plan. And I think that's part of why she does that, to follow through on it so she doesn't miss any beats on it in the upcoming games. And we're seeing that here. So she's very well set up. Anion Pulse Crystals is halfway done. The Mutas do dive and get the High Templar in the northwest base. The second one will land a Storm and reposition back over into the natural.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. The Phoenixes should be able to kill every single Muta at this point. As long as the Phoenixes just keep chasing these Mutas, you'll take out all of them. I do like that Namshar took out a couple of the High Templars. It costs a lot of gas. The main armies on the other side of the map, if you can take a look at that, are starting to flirt with each other. And Nina does land a couple of Storms. I think at this point to bring the Phoenixes over as well, like 7 Phoenix is actually very decent. Nina is disengaging now, and I have no idea why, because her army, Nate, is a lot better. You don't want to wait until Namshar shows up with 25 Banelings, as now 18 Banelings are morphing. But earlier, Nina's army was so much better. Now all the Phoenixes flying straight into the Hydras. Nina is making a couple of mistakes here, but I think he's still in a perfectly fine spot, as long as he keeps the High Templar safe.
Yep, and the stasis trap behind the army, staggered several layers deep, by the way. We've got some Hydras frozen in time with a bunch of these lings, and really just making it hard to get. We talked about this earlier, too. That big surround moment where the whole army gets crushed at once. Nina refuses to allow that to happen. That's where that patience really comes through and shines. 3 carriers being made as +2 air finishes up. So even if there was a way through this army, the big, powerful, scary tier 3 Protoss is coming up after, and there are so many Psy Storms, by the way. Nina has been really good about the High Templar usage this whole entire season.
Yep, there are still 6 High Templars on the map after it feels like it's been storming for a solid minute at this point. And Namshar, his supply is still looking alright. It just does not feel that he's got the army to ever get on top of static defenses and whatnot. Nina does feel that she needs to bring over a couple of extra High Templars. One more big storm is connecting. And I think soon we'll see that supply fall. I think Nina could warp in a couple of Zealots, and that's exactly what she's doing, just to go for counterattacks, because Namshar really does not have a lot of static defenses at all, and all the units are being rallied towards the bottom side of the map. So just sending a few Zealots towards the top side base, I think is very smart. It buys Nina time. It gives her time to get these carriers out and get more Storms to work with.
Yep, and we haven't really seen Nina be able to bring the pressure to the other side of the map for a little bit, as she has been fully focused on the defense. And hey, I mean, we don't have to mess around. We don't have to lie to ourselves too much here, Kev. The Hydras could get some work done against the carriers in an ideal engagement where the Lings and the Banelings can get all up on top of those Stalkers and the handful of High Templar. And this is a one way to do it for Namshar. He's just going to try to attack over the wall in the northwest, and then everything just kind of leaves this southeast base. And the Banelings could crash through the static defense. We could see Nina take a pretty big economic tumble if this goes right for Namshar, but making his way through and not able to get to the probe line on that bottom expansion.
No, it's some damage, and obviously the idea of the multi-prong was very nice there, but I'm afraid that Nina just has a few too many tools to work with at this point. And the only thing that's really giving Namshar a chance is if Nina does not decide to be aggressive at all. If Namshar does get all these spires up, as 2 of them are being built. No, yeah, what? We're building 3 spires, Nate? What is this? How many spires?
Nundale. Yeah, that's. I mean, look, I've heard of some cursed strategies in StarCraft before, but the triple spire is not one of them. That's I don't think that one's even in the meme playbook. But that's, I think, just a sign of the pressure of this situation, that Namshar is like already thinking, okay, well, what I need to do is make the air transition, although that option's kind of already on the table. So there you go. If the Greater Spire gets sniped, then one of the other ones can transform and still get upgrades, I guess.
You can also just go triple Greatest Spire to assert our dominance.
That's true. Well, then you get the Greatest Spire.
Tier 4, brand new unit unlocked.
That's right.
No one has ever
That's
tried.
right. And it's actually just Guardians, and you're like, oh my god, I miss these things.
Baylix could connect with High Templars in the center of the map, and they do. That's big for Namshar, all memes aside. Unfortunately, one Viper went a bit too far forward, got expulsed. It's not the entire army though, as Nina has more High Templars coming in. Are we going to get a couple of big storms on the Hydras? Nope. The Hydras run away. Nice abducts here by Namshar. Legitimately pretty good Viper play. Unfortunately, the Corruptors were attacking the Interceptors there, Nate. And that is not what you want. More storms land on the right side of our screen. Yes, I have the feeling that even though Namshar did a lot of things right there, Nina is still just too far ahead in this game for it to truly matter.
Yeah, the carriers really did their job. The upgrades for them are also fantastic. The Corruptors do not have any carapace, so they are getting melted by these +2 interceptors, and that is a big part of it. You know, that +2 is kind of the tipping point for the carriers, especially since even the Hydras only have +1 carapace. The second upgrade is about to finish, but it might be a little bit too late here, Roddy, as I think we've kind of gone through the whole motion now. +3 does start up for them. 3 more carriers are building, and even in all those attacks that Namshar was able to bring on the other side, I at least thought the bottom right base would go down, but now it was left behind, and then there's a bajillion photon cannons on it. So good luck breaking it now, as you've got the High Templar, multiple batteries. That's just going to make everything so much more difficult. So Nina just brings the army to the northwest, feels very comfortable to starve out Namshar. Of course, he does not want to be eliminated, so he is going to fight to the bitter end. I have nothing but respect for that mindset. However, it is looking a little bit bleak, to say the least.
Yeah, it really does. And Nina has looked good in almost every single aspect of her PvZ. Namshar definitely had his moments throughout this best of 5, but it just always felt that the starts were not quite good enough, especially the second game with all the links not working out. And Nina just gets away with so freaking much, makes it look easy. We all know it's not easy, but there is a stack for days, static defense for days, transitions for days, and it really does feel that NA has some mighty fine PvZ to learn from. If it's not Neep, it is Nina, because she's honestly making this look somewhat effortless, and I can guarantee you it's not. Even if Namshar is not on top of his game like he was once upon a time, as he officially had enough of it, just knows that Nina is too far ahead. Nina looked very, very solid in this best of 5 and will advance into the next round of the lower bracket to duke it out with Trigger, and I think that is going to be an absolutely amazing PvP. I am looking forward to that one, Nate.
Yeah, that's going to be an absolutely monstrous series for Nina, and it turns into I think a prove it moment for both of them, because for Nina, you know, are you still on the tip top? Because if Trigger's coming up and Estrella and Neeb were already considered top Protoss players, that balance of power is at stake. And on the other side, it's a crazy opportunity for Trigger to take out a known name and a dominant player in NA on his way to changing the history of North American StarCraft. But a great series where I really feel like we get to see Nina demonstrate her style, which is she likes to be on the map, she likes to be aggressive, but she also likes to expand a lot and not leave herself open to getting caught off guard. So great play by her, as you said, as she advances on and Namshar is eliminated.
I think overall a very fun series, even if it was a bit one-sided. It had its moments, and I think you and I had a good time, Nate. So that means that it's time for us to go into our second last break of the day. The next best of 5 should be a lot closer, should be very competitive. One last PvT to wrap up a very long day of StarCraft. Vindicta versus Disc will be coming up after this commercial break.
Welcome back, everyone. Nina defeats Namshar 3-0 to advance on through the lower bracket of DreamHack NA Regionals. And we do have an interview ready with her as well, so we can go ahead and bring her on. Hello, Nina. Congratulations on the swift victory. I'm going to actually start from kind of square one, because I think it's one of the first interviews we've had with you. What was your feelings after the group stage, getting top 4 and having to start off in the lower bracket?
Honestly, like, I didn't even know if I was going to qualify. Like, I had a difficult time even qualifying for DreamHack. There's a couple of series versus, like, for instance, Scarlet and Future, where I felt like if my condition was just slightly better, I could have closed them out and got top 2. But honestly, like, every season I always aim for top 6, top 4 area, and I'm pretty, like, settled with myself. Like, that's okay. Like, I try to push hard. Like, I do my best to, like, get to that top 3, 2, or 1 spot, but, like, competition's also, like, really rough. So yeah.
Definitely, and you're definitely right about those moments against the players. You definitely had a chance to beat both of them. But then the bracket gets released, and, well, I guess just knowing that the group's played out, you knew you're going to face Namshar. So what are your expectations going into this best of 5?
Honestly, like, I was very confident. Like, Trigger played him earlier. Like, Trigger's my roommate currently, and he said that I shouldn't have any difficulties. And going into, like, the first game, I just, like, knew immediately, like, there's no way that I should lose this series, just based on, like, how I feel on his mechanical skill. So
yeah. I guess, is there anything you want to talk about game 1 or game 2 wise? They felt like they were pretty much in your favor the entire time.
I kind of overwhelmed myself a little bit. Like, I was trying to do too much. Like, I felt like there was a couple of times where it's just like I didn't stick clear to like a transition, and I could have won more easily had I just, like, either stuck to one skill type or transitioned into carrier faster.
Perhaps, but yeah, I mean, you still look like you're in control the entire time, but continuing to perfect, I suppose. And then game 3, I think, might have been the scariest moment. Suddenly, it's like 21 mutas just popping out of nowhere, but you handled it gracefully. So what was going through your mind at that point?
At first, I was just like, oh, there's mutas. Like, I was kind of surprised by it. I wasn't, like, really scared of it per se. Like, there's always, like, that instinctual, like, oh god, I'm about to lose this game because all of a sudden there's mutas going to my base. I didn't scout it, but that's just, like, from the years of playing StarCraft and knowing how strong they can be. But, like, my setup, I knew was pretty okay to deal with it, and I just needed to stay calm, and eventually, like, I would be fine. So
yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, as a 3-0, it was kind of a straightforward series. So I just kind of want to ask you general feelings and thoughts and how your practice has been going. I know you missed out on last season, which was a real bummer, but seem to be coming back with a vengeance, you know, continuing forward in the playoffs. How's the StarCraft life for you?
It's okay. I try to get as much time as I can, and, like, I am more career focused right now than I am, like, towards StarCraft. So I do StarCraft as much as I can. Like, I love broadcasting. I love competing in DreamHack, and, like, I always look forward to this, and I try to go as I can. So,
well, so far it's working pretty well. As you said, I mean, you might be in the lower bracket here, but you just advanced on, and there is definitely a chance that you could have made top 2 in those groups. So still definitely kicking butt. And I guess just any shout outs for you before we let you go.
Obviously, shout out to all the fans. Shout out to Trigger for helping me with some of my matches. Not looking forward to playing him tomorrow. It's like a lose-lose situation because I know how hard he practices, and he's a really good player. And so, yeah, if he wins tomorrow, I hope he wins the whole tournament. And yeah, just shout out to everyone that puts this together and the crew behind everything. So
very wholesome. Well, thank you, and thank you for touching on that match tomorrow. It's going to be difficult, but good luck. And we look forward to seeing your PvP. See you later.
Thank you. Yes, see you.
All right, so that was our first best of 5 for North America. Now we go into the second best of 5 and also the final match of the day, of course. So it's going to be Vindicta versus Disc. And this is blank screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, it is our head-to-head. So here we go. Have played a decent amount of times against each other. They both have been kind of coming up, like up and down maybe a little bit in North America. So Rotterdam, what can we expect from this best of 5?
Fireworks. I really think that this is going to be a fun, close, competitive series. I have no idea who I want to give the edge. Like, based upon the last few months, I think a lot of people might be leaning a little bit towards Vindicta because we call him Vindicta and he was so great in those WTL qualifiers. But, you know, over the last year and a half, I would say Disc has actually impressed me a little bit more than Vindicta did. 2 players that are obviously knocking on the door that deserve to be, I think, in the playoffs of NA. And now it's just a question who's going to have that run, who is going to have the opportunity to do it out with Scarlet in the next round, which is going to be hard. I have no idea what to expect, but I think it's very, very close. Like one of the closest series we've had all day. I don't know, but I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm going to predict how it's going to go, other than I think it is going to be even. Maybe. I guess it really depends on who takes the power at what point of the game. They may Vindicta with some opening builds as Terran, maybe Disc a little stronger in the later stages. I'm not completely sure. Nathanis, do you have any insight into this one?
Yeah, I don't. I think this one gets crazy. I think it gets a little bit wild. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want out of this. I want a good old-fashioned full NA TVP, maybe some proxy shenanigans, perhaps a base trade. And yeah, I'll have some Dark Templars on the side, please. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah. They both shown like maybe a little bit of weakness here in their respective matchups, a little bit of strength there as well. So it might just come down to who has prepared for this a little bit more, since it's the first series for them in their playoffs. So they've had a couple of days since the groups were finalized on Sunday to prepare. And, I think that's actually going to be kind of it. Who has the better build? Who has done the practice, put in the work, and who is feeling it the day of? As you know, pros have always talked about that actually being kind of one of the most important things. So we're going to see as we get into game 1. First, guys, who do you think is going to win? It's either #Vin or #Disvin. Disvin goes to either player. Just choose. So either going to be the Terran or is it going to be the Protoss? And that's going to be our last series of the day as well. So get your votes in, get all excited, get hyped, because I think this is going to be one hell of a Terran versus Protoss to end the broadcast. First, we're going to go to a break. And when we come back, it is Disc versus Vindicta.
For the last time today, we welcome you guys back to this edition of the DreamHack Masters North America Atlanta playoffs, where we are hopping into our final best of 5, a TVP to wrap things up with. Nate, it's been a long day, it's been a fun day, but I have pretty high hopes for this series, man. It's two guys that I enjoy watching, two players that stream a very decent amount. I feel like Disc was the full-time streamer first, and he was really good on the side. Lately, Vindicta has been streaming more and more, very entertaining stream if you ask me. And I think two guys that are just very evenly matched.
Yeah, I think that's what's really exciting about this is, like you said, Kev, it's been a long day. We've had a lot of really close series, and even the ones that didn't quite get all the way to that final game, which none of them really did. We saw a lot of just very long maps. So let's see who is going to finish things off with a dub. Over here in the top left, we have the red Terran player. He is Vindicta.
And in the bottom right side, we're looking at the main base of our Canadian Protoss. This is Disc.
And I already love to see it, Roddy. You love to see it. I wanted to see some NA shenanigans. This, I don't know how many times this has been done to you playing in this this map pool this season, but I think I've gotten proxy gatewayed in that base maybe twice, and it always completely catches you off guard because you just don't expect that if they're going to proxy, you're like, okay, well, they want to build it as fast as possible, but if you start the depot and immediately send the SCV, then it would never get there in time, right? Blah 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 sort of deal. But that's exactly why it being so far back there is quite dangerous, and it works a lot more than you would typically think something like that should.
Well, it has happened to me a couple of times, and I gotta say the cannon rush that starts off there but then makes its way into your main base, that has been the most annoying one for me. But everything else, yeah, they have tried. I gotta say, Nate, I'm pretty bulletproof. I'm just a very fair, honest, macro-oriented Protoss, you know. Disc has scouted though with his probe on the other side of the map, and he's checking everywhere right now, wondering what's up. Sees the bunker go down. He's going to send 2 probes to the low ground. I have tried this as well, and this actually backfires for me. You think you can get the SCV, but if the SCV control is good, you won't get the SCV, and then you have 2 probes on the low ground immediately. Reaper shows up, and you start off by losing 2 probes. And I think that's what's going to happen to Disc here. This is actually a very unfortunate start, man, because one Zealot is not going to get a lot done. And if I was Vindicta, I would always go for that probe, because that probe was supposed to fall, but good movement there with the Zealot. Okay, that's
little body
something.
Block. Yeah, good little body block there. I thought that bunker was, if it's 1 hex down from where it was built, and I mean, it finished, it's fine. It's not really dogging on him, but yeah, that in between the mineral patch can also be a safe spot for the SCV to hide too. Yep. He's going to try and do a little cute little micro with that Reaper to poke down that shield battery. Now everything's occupied, so he goes into the main with the second Reaper, and this is the advantage. You've literally built your barracks within a screen of the Nexus. So just an absolutely crazy way to start a game, but this is about as NA/Vindicta as it gets. He loves to do these types of aggressive builds and really mix it up. A Hellion is being built back at his base.
Am I crazy, or is the bunker in range of the battery? It is, right?
I think it is, yes.
Yeah,
I think if the Reapers click on it.
I'm actually very surprised that the Reapers didn't go for the battery, because double Reaper would have absolutely taken out that battery by now. And then I'm surprised Vindicta didn't go for Reaper number 3. In the end, this obviously still works out in a decent way if he can keep both Reapers alive, and he cannot. Good shot there with the Stalker. I'm surprised Vindicta didn't go for the battery. I'm surprised he didn't go for Reaper number 3, because an Adept first is actually not an ideal response against this, because as we all know, Adepts really suck against buildings.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't. The Reaper range always feels so deceiving because the size of the bunker comes into play, but it has the same range for the attacks as a Marine. So I think from a bunker, yeah, you probably could have if you wanted to focus it, but I guess it's neither here nor there. The Adept is going to shade past the mine, by the way. Perfectly baited the shot without dying. That's a pretty difficult thing to do. I feel like a lot of people try that and mess it up. So yes. kudos on that one.
That is actually very difficult. I'm completely with you. So what could have been a disaster for Disc, whether or not the bunker was in range, turns out it's not all that bad. I have to admit, I'd be absolutely horrified going Zealot Adept against a double a Reaper proxy, but he got away with it, even picked up one of the Reapers. So in the end, I think Disc overall is quite happy with this start. This Adept sees everything, Nate. It sees the starport, it sees the tech lab, and in the end, it does still shade into the Widow Mine.
Oh,
but
no.
Vindicta was faking it, cancels the Banshee immediately, cancels Cloak, and goes for a Raven instead.
Yeah, because he's got the 3 barracks. Despite all of this, he wanted to make it seem like, oh yeah, it's just a little 1-1-1 follow-up. You know, I'm gonna maybe go for a 3rd command center. No. Stim is on the way. He's building a lot of Marines. He's getting in combat shields with it. And I think after this Raven, maybe even just get like 1 medevac. I don't know how fast he wants to try and make this attack, or use the factory to build a reactor. But really just depends on what he wants to have with this, because obviously he doesn't have the gas from the natural going yet, so building tanks and Ravens is a very expensive thing to do while you're trying to get upgrades.
Yep. It is a tiny map. Wow, Quick Templar Archives on the side of Disc. I wonder if that's just for Archons or if he actually wants to rush out Storm. Since we are playing without a Forge so far, I would say Quick Storm is probably the play here, Nate. You land 1 or 2 nice storms on that first bio push that will obviously inevitably be coming your way. And after that, you can do all the Protoss things, like maybe drop a Robo Bay, get a Forge, go up to 4 bases and whatnot. If it's just Archons, I think we're playing a very dangerous game. But I would love to see Storm, but will it be Disc? Storm, Archons, yes. Quick Storm starts chrono boosting it immediately. I think it's the correct call, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy to defend the first push of Vindicta.
Yeah, I really like this for a couple of reasons, because if he has the High Templar out, then, you know, obviously the Raven is dumping its energy right now, but if he tried to bring it home, it would be great for a feedback, right? If there was like a anti-armor missile against the charged Zealots, then that would be a really tricky thing to deal with. So he's got some flexibility there. And really, we don't see people go for Storm this fast versus Terran that often. So it's just kind of fun. Feels almost a little throwback-esque. And there is the feedback, so it doesn't get to drop the next auto turret. And he's just got to chill.
The one nice thing there, I guess, for Vindicta is that at least he gets the scout off, right? Okay, I get feedback. That means you have a Templar Archives. That means there is a chance you're going into Quick Storm. Couple of Stalkers are thinking about going for the main base, and they will. Scan goes down. Vindicta picks up the Observer immediately. Obviously, he realizes that high ground vision must have been a thing there. This gets a Marauder as well. 1 Stalker falls. Nope, 0 Stalkers. Okay, I think overall very successful there for this. He is creating a nice little lead for himself here, Nate. 14 workers, and Storm is done 8 minutes into the game.
Yes, and his 3rd base is not the pocket base. Vindicta's will be. So as he continues to try and bring the pressure and do some damage, it's just hard because he wanted to have a lot of units. Against the Colossus, you can spread around, try to get those big jumps, but against Zealots, being spread out is kind of bad, and having those clumps of units makes it harder for them to surround and get good damage onto all of the units. But then that's where Storm becomes better. So Disc being able to have the real 3rd base and have that money coming in, it's just going to make it that much more difficult for Vindicta to break him over time. Excuse me.
It's been a long day, mate. It definitely happens. Couple of probes do fall against another turret as the Raven has regenerated enough energy. Vindicta wanted to poke and see if there was maybe a High Templar very far away and exposed. Super quick ghost, by the way, on the side of Vindicta, which I do think is pretty smart against the very quick Storm of Disc. I think this is everything that we expected, that we were anticipating. These two are just kind of going blow for blow so far. It's very close. Disc, I don't think, can be too aggressive because you have to attack into the 2-base setup. Without Colossus, I think that's going to be very difficult. By the time he has Colossus, Vindicta will have an answer for it. So I think at this point, it's all about not taking any economic damage for both sides.
Yep, and even there, not willing to give even the tiniest little bit, gets a good dodge on that mine. And, you know, that's one of the funnier things, too, ever since they changed the way the Widow Mine works with that shot, because so many Terrans just don't get an armory versus Protoss, or they wait a really long time because you get a little bit more value than the upgrade out of EMPs, since that's just crazy amounts of shields that you can remove. And obviously the High Templar are what's really getting in the way of the bio. But he's been sweeping the mines pretty well. And a Dark Shrine boots up here too. So Disc is giving me some Nina-esque vibes with the setup. He really just does not want to leave anything on the table. He's going to set up for everything that could possibly happen before he really tries to get out there and do anything wild. He knows he's making more money than Vindicta based on the bases that have been taken. So there's not really any pressure for him to force it. He just needs to be ready for what the Terran is going to bring to him.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit adventurous. Double Robo, Double Forge, Storm, Dark Shrine. I don't know. It's a lot of things to get away with, which obviously means that maybe his army is not actually going to be as big as he would like it to be in the next minute. But if this game just chills out for another minute, and then there's a good chance that Disc will be able to get all of these fun little Protoss tools into play. And then it's going to be a bit more difficult for Vindicta. Like right now, I like Vindicta's army a lot more than I like Disc's army, but it really comes down to the EMPs, the Storms, or a potential Purification Nova.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Terran versus Protoss has always been like that, right? It's either you drop Medivacs in every single base at the same time and the Protoss like flails around at the keyboard and can't keep up, or it turns into trying to micro the Prism with the Templar, the Colossus, and the Vikings, etc. This time around, of course, we don't really have Colossus on the menu, but these Storms we know can definitely seal the deal. And that's one of the reasons why those Templar are in the Prism. Dodge those EMPs. So let's see what happens, because we have a big army for Vindicta, but Disc is maxed out, so almost don't want to walk into like an anti-timing here, but his army will get better if he waits.
It's a lot of gateway units. First Nova goes down, good micro by Vindicta, avoids it. Second one also gets completely dodged, and now we're going to try to land a couple of snipes from the High Templars. Sweet control so far by Vindicta, but there's not a whole lot he can do whenever the battery overcharge is active. This really is a Vindicta classic, by the way, man. Like, this boy can be under a barcode, but he loves the double Liberator, random harass, 10, 11 minutes into the game. While he's poking and prodding with his main army, he absolutely loves just setting up two Liberators at the same time. Nova's getting really close to the Terran army, center of the map, and High Templars, oh my goodness, Nate, all the splash damage is here. And I have the feeling that neither player was aware of it at first. In the end, not too many casualties, but that could have been really bad for both parties.
They're both just trying to posture around a little bit and almost walk, just smack into each other. I think that's an observer sieged up that can kind of see that path that he's moving through. And I don't know if he's paying attention, but that's a lot smaller than the army he was just going back and forth with. So Widowmine gets the Prism. The rest of the bio is going to start to kite back, but those three Medivacs that got separated are making their way into the main base for a big drop, supported by a Liberator sieging behind them. So it won't be as easy as just having Zealous charge in there, sees the DTs warping in, gets an EMP on them, and they are revealed. So a really good job here by Vindicta. And I was going to say, you know, if you're Disc, that army, again, he saw how big it was. It was in the same spot, but a lot of it was missing, and that's been revealed right here. Shuts down the pylon to prevent the warp-ins. He just wants to deal as much damage to this main. He might even go full pulse and just see a Nexus snipe. No, he wants to go over to the pocket base and get more worker kills.
I mean, it opens the doors on the top side of the map, throws down a scan. I think that Disc at least was anticipating this move. Oh my goodness, and Nova for the ages, as it gets pretty much a full connection with the bio units. And Vindicta's army movement was beautiful, but I almost feel like the scan threw it away. Maybe, okay, now we leave a couple of Archons behind all by themselves. Archons are good, Nate, not all that great. But yeah, Vindicta's like, cool, man, if you are not sending enough units into the main base to deal with this triple drop, I'll just stay active. And he has done a lot of damage. I think overall all of this definitely favored Vindicta, but this did get a couple points on the board, mostly with that big Purification Nova. Really needs a few more observers, man. He only has a single ops. Vindicta has Widowmines burrowed left, right, and center, as one Liberator is going to get picked off by a Stalker. We need more observers, Disc, if we want to make something of this game.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very important in mine. And one thing that I do like about... Ooh,
Nova center of the map, Nova center of the map! Are you joking, Nate? Are you joking?
Cash money. Cash money in the bank right there for Disc, man. Vindicta has been eating some big ones trying to do this multi-prong harass. And Disc